right, you have another page in your composition notebook, or I'm sorry, in your packet to put in your composition notebook that talks about nonfiction text features. So that's going to be our title on top of our next page. And the chart looks like this. It has text feature and how it helps on it. It says, and I cut this off, nonfiction text feature chart or something up on top. I made it a little too big, so it does not necessarily fit across the page. It might hang off a little bit. If you want to glue it up there, totally fine. I just tilted mine to the side so that it would fit better here. But otherwise, you're going to cut it all the way around the outside, glue the whole chart down. Now, nonfiction text features. I mentioned last week that you have probably worked with these before in earlier grade levels. So I think second, third, fourth grade, you really kind of work on these quite a bit. So this should all be kind of a review to you. You're going to be including 2 nonfiction text features in your paper, one of which we are going to spend a whole day adding in. That is actually a separate category on your rubric, but it's also considered a nonfiction text feature. So if you are choosing to use headings, which is what we'll spend a whole day and everyone's going to include in their paper, as one of your nonfiction text features, then you only need to add 1 more for a total of 2. Unless you don't want to include headings as one of your 2, then you would just need to find 2 more to add into your paper. There's a whole list here. Again, this is not the entire list of every nonfiction text feature that exists in the world, so you don't have to stick to this list. But these are some pretty easy ones that I think would work best for what I know your topics are. It tells you what they are and then how it helps. So headings are one that we are going to all be including in our paper, and we're going to spend a whole day on it. But they make it easy for the readers to skim articles to try to find the spot in their paper that they're trying to find the information for. So if they don't have time to read the whole paper, the whole text, and they want to just skim quick to find what they need to find, that's what headings are good for. Picture and captions, they help the reader see and visualize, and the caption just helps explain what the picture is showing. Graphs help see numbers related to the topic and how either that study is affecting or influencing the topic of the paper. Diagrams, very similar, but they also kind of show like a part of a system and how these parts work together as a system. There's usually labels attached to each part. A map, we kind of know what those are, shows locations. Steps shows the order or a sequence of something. Taking your dog out to go to the bathroom. We could all probably have different steps for that, but I could include a list or steps in how to do that. Lists, same thing. Timelines, show order or sequence, but this is mostly for a historical piece or something that has actual dates and times, not necessarily just parts of it. Boldface words help explain important vocabulary. Charts organize information into parts like this here. Videos, we're not going to be able to include that, unfortunately, just because it's a paper, but they do help experience the topic a little bit more. And infographics, these are pretty cool, but they're a little complicated to make yourself. So a lot of the times you have to find one that is appropriate for your topic, but sometimes a lot of information is on these. So you will have to be a little selective or a little cautious if you're choosing to include one of these. Now, somewhere else on this page, just because I glued mine on the side, I had this part open. I'm going to have you write these different notes down here. So the main idea of nonfiction text features is to help you locate important information in a text. So that's their main job. It doesn't matter what one you're working with. That is every one of the nonfiction text features' main purpose. But then there are also different purposes to different text features. And one of the purposes is to understand rules, words, and vocab use. A lot of the times this is with bold or underlined words or a glossary or an index. Another purpose is to expand the meaning of the text. A lot of the times these are where your pictures, your captions, your diagrams, your charts, your steps, videos come into play. And then the third one is to locate key ideas. So this could be a diagram showing different parts. It could also be the index or headings or the glossary or the appendix in the back of a book. And then the fourth one is to represent information. So this could be timelines. It could be an infographic. And it could also be your works cited to show where you got more information from your research or that you're including in your paper. Okay, so go ahead and copy this information onto this page in your composition notebook somewhere, as long as it's on this page so that you know it's talking about nonfiction text features. That would be great. Otherwise, you're going to be choosing 2 of these to include in your paper. And remember, I said where every one of you is going to have headings as one of your nonfiction text features, but that doesn't necessarily need to include that as your count for nonfiction text features. You can choose 2 additional ones, or you can just choose 1 additional one and use headings as your first one of 2 that you're including in your paper. Okay, so go ahead and find either from this list or different lists online you're more than welcome to use. Otherwise, you're going to include 2 in your paper. And if you need help finding one or kind of using tips or need advice on how to include it in your paper, I would be more than happy to do that. And in fact, I probably will touch base with each one of you individually, check in with you, see what your other 1 or 2 nonfiction text features are, and kind of help you include that in your paper too. But we're going to include 2 total. You get to choose if you want to include headings as 1 or a separate 2. The next video that's attached to this assignment is going to be my paper and the other 2 that I am including in my paper, just so you can kind of see an example of how to include a nonfiction text feature in your paper. But otherwise, you are free to choose whichever 1 or 2 you would like.